This is the 64 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme flash drive running at USB 3.0, which is 5 gigabytes per second. That's how fast USB 3.0 is capable of. This particular flash drive reads at 190 megabytes per second and writes at 170 megabytes per second for its data transfer speed. Now it is USB 3.0 supported, so you'll need a computer with USB 3.0 on it, but you can use a computer with USB 2.0. But obviously I would suggest not getting this unless you have a computer that has USB 3.0, or you'll be using it with a mix of computers, because there's no point in spending the money for this if you're not going to be able to utilize it. It includes encryption and password protection software, and it does have a online service you can go with that gives you 2 gigabytes of free online storage for like data backup, so you have data backed up in the cloud in case something happens to your hard drive. This is front of the box, 64 gigs. There's a picture of the flash drive. Side. Other side. Front. Nothing underneath. And then it has all the spec information. It supports XP, Vista, Windows 7, and all the Mac operating systems. Mac OS X and up. The service that it uses for the online storage is UWA, YUUWAA. That's the online service for the 2 gigabyte cloud storage. This is all that's inside the box, just the plastic container. You have the magnetic sensor for when it's in the store to detect if it's been stolen. And it's interesting the way they have this package laid out. If you see, they've got the little embroiderings right here for SD. So it looks like they use the same package for when they're shipping their SD cards. And CF, for this is where they would put the compact flash card. The package is glued. It doesn't come apart, so you're going to need a pair of scissors to open it. A little bit frustrating. Just careful not to damage the flash drive. Alright, once you get it out, you have a little clip here to put a hook in if you want to hang it on a lanyard. There's a switch right here to slide out the USB port. Extreme USB 3.0 connectivity. You have the SanDisk logo. And a little USB 3.0 on the bottom. And of course it's blue because it's USB 3.0. And that's the flash drive. Now let's do a speed test and see how fast it's capable of. Alright, this is going to show how fast I can transfer a file from my solid state Type 3 hard drive. It has about a 500 meg write and a 500 meg read transfer speed. It's a Type 3. The USB flash drive has 190 meg write and 170 meg read access speed. So it's always important that if you're going to be doing a speed test, that you make sure the transfer your from or to is faster than your flash drive. Otherwise, that will be your bottleneck and you won't get a real accurate speed. The other important thing you have to do is make sure you have a high-speed connection in your computer. So like if you're using SATA, which is the new 6 gigs per second or the older 3 gigs per second, you'll be fine. Anything slower than that will affect your speed. So obviously, depending on your computer, will depend on your speeds. The other thing you should be aware of is this is a 40 gig file I'm going to use so that we have something to see the bit rate for. If it was too small, it would copy so fast you won't even be able to see that. Now I'm going to transfer this to the flash drive. If you notice, it says the file is too large for the destination file system. That's because in order to make it compatible, they formatted the drive as a FAT32 system, which pretty much makes it compatible with any operating system. The problem is FAT32 has a limitation, just like the CPU on a computer running 32-bit has a limitation of 4 gigs of RAM. Well, in the file system, it's the same sense. A FAT32 file system has a limit of only being able to handle a file that's under 4 gigs. So if this was exactly 4 gigs, or more like 3.99 gigs, it wouldn't have a problem. Because it's over 4 gigs, it can't handle the file. So to make this more compatible, you're going to need to format it. Now, most new file systems, such as this is Windows 7, will be able to handle the new format. They just give you FAT32 because it's pretty much supported by everything. Mac, Linux, Windows, and even other devices like your PS3. The problem is, as you can see, they don't even include FAT32 on here anymore because of that limitation with the 4 gig size. So if you're going to want to format them, you're going to have to use a different operating system or a different program. So here's the extended FAT. This is all fine. Obviously, you never really get the full 64 gigs because of the way the math works. And I'll leave it on quick format. Yeah, I know, it'll erase everything. Alright, format's complete. Now, some interesting thing that I'll tell you about the exFAT. It has a limitation of only being able to do files that are smaller than 16 exabytes. Just to give you an idea how big that is, there's 1,000 megs is a gig, which everyone's familiar with, and 1,000 gigs is a terabyte, and 1,000 terabytes is a petabyte, and 1,000 petabytes is an exabyte. So pretty much there's no file that you will not be able to copy now, because that's even bigger than this flash drive, that's bigger than any hard drive I'm even aware of. And just for those that are interested, the biggest file system, the biggest format you can handle as far as storage overall, and that exFAT is 64 zettabytes, which is 1,000 exabytes. Oh, and the largest file you can handle is 16 exabytes. So yeah, you'll be good. Alright, so I formatted the flash drive. Now the only file systems that you have to be aware of that may not be compatible with this is your Windows XP operating system will support it, but it needs to be Service Pack 2 at least, and it needs to have a update from Microsoft for that type of file system. Windows Vista will support it, but again, it will need to be SP1, and it will also need the update. Windows 7 natively supports it, and as for the Apple users, you will need to have OS X 10.6 and above to support it. Oh, and when you saw me choose exFAT, that is probably the file system you'll want to use on your flash drive, only because you're not going to want to use NTFS because that will only work on a Windows computer, and you're not going to want to use Mac OS if you're on a Mac, because if you want to use it on a Windows computer or other computer, it won't support it either. So if you're on a Mac, use exFAT, because then you'll be universally supported and you won't have a file limit size. Alright, so let's get to actually copying the file. So now that I've formatted it, let's see how long it takes. So it's doing about 190, 170 megs a second. And this is a 4.8 gig file. So it's doing right about what the write speed is, which is 170 megs. Now it's still possible to go faster because the limit on the USB 3.0 bus is 5 gigs per second. So as they come out with faster flash drives, you can expect faster access speeds. But this is running at its speed that they said it was going to do, 170 megs per second. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe.